ॐ शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Okay. So last time we had completed the topic of Dhanurveda and we had started with the next topic, that is the 24 Gurus as mentioned by Dattatreya, as well as the mention that has been made in different texts like Srimad Bhagavatam and so on. So quickly we'll browse through. We had seen one or two. Earth we have already seen. The main learning is the quality of tolerance, patience and Kshama, forgiveness. Next is air, that is in spite of the different, we are a part of everything but still not being affected by that. So air passes through everything but is not affected by anything. This is the learning. Third is the sky. Just as though clouds keep passing, similarly problems or tensions, worries keep passing through everyone's life, but still the sky remains steady. Similarly, all of us also must try to develop this learning. So that is the sky. Next is water. So I think we have to, so water is transparent. It doesn't see, it doesn't look at the nature of people, it doesn't check the transparency of the person who is drinking water also. It will offer water to everyone. It is pure, it is transparent in nature, it is impartial, and these qualities can be learned from water. And at the same time it is beneficial also, it quenches everyone's thirst. So this is water. Next, fire. Fire is considered to be an element that purifies things. That's the reason most of our rituals, different sacrifices, everything we do using fire. And the quality of learning also is considered to be like fire, that is the fire of knowledge or the fire of learning, as we say. So these are all qualities which are there: wisdom, learning, knowledge. So fire is compared to all this. So just as fire purifies things, similarly knowledge, like fire, it helps us purify our lives. Fire. Next is moon. Last we had seen was moon. Moon has the qualities of waxing and waning, but still in reality actually doesn't happen. From earth it seems that the moon is changing its shape. So similarly, whatever happens, pain, pleasure, everything that takes place is all outer. Everything happens to our body. Our soul is not affected at all, so don't get carried away. That is, good situations come in, happy situations come in, we get overexcited. Sorrow comes in, we feel overly you can say sad or depressed. That should not be done. There should be a proper balance. So just as Krishna also highlights in the Gita, samashatrausha mitrecha tathamana pamanayoho shitoshna sukha dukkheshu samassanga vivarjitaha. Samaha, develop the quality of equality and a balance that you maintain in whatever you do. Samaha shatruhu mitraha, friend, enemy, pleasure, pain, summer, winter and so on. If you sit and complain, lifelong you have to sit and complain. So whatever it is, except there are going to be problems, try to learn to live with it. So like the moon, these are qualities which we get to learn from the moon. So I think till here we had seen in the last session. We'll continue. Next is sun. Next is the sun. So just as the sun is only one. In the sky we see the sun, it is only one. But then its reflection. It's not that in India you have a sun, in Bharatiya there is one sun, in Sri Lanka there is one sun, in the US there is one sun. It's not like that. There is one and only sun which provides light to the entire world, right? But sun, what it does, it's because of its reflection. You see it in water also, it seems like there are many suns. Or now here just an example of the sun is given. It can be for anything. You see your own reflection in the mirror. Person is only one. We just feel that there are two, right? You see yourself as well as your reflection in the mirror. It seems that there are two, but actually the person is only one. Similarly, the soul that is present in everyone is only one, but it just seems otherwise. That is what is the meaning is, Now, all of us also, if we are about 30 of us or so roughly, though every individual you are distinguished because of your name, because of the physical body that you have, but ultimately we are all parts of the same creation, same creator, same word. So just as the sun in the reflection of water, it seems that there are many suns. Similarly, out of the Almighty Creator, Supreme, whatever you call, out of that we are all reflections of the same part. It just seems to be different. So learning from all this is, do not be indifferent to people around you. Now it becomes very difficult to practically follow all this, but we must try our level best to do this. The fellow human being also is quite equal to you. Maybe a few qualities can go up and down. Apart from that, you are a human being, he is also a human being. The same body parts that you have, he is having. All the qualities are same. Maybe the nature might differ. So we need not treat people as if being inhuman and so on. We see a lot of things nowadays happening, right? Maybe if a small thing happens, we go and end up killing a person, or maybe doing things which are not at all needed. So therefore, just as the sun is only one, its reflection seems to be many. Similarly, we are all parts of the same one supreme, one creator, and it's just as if reflections are there. So we must not be indifferent. The feeling of karuna or compassion should always develop. Next. From the pigeon, kapotaha. Dattatreya, he says that usually pigeons, or any birds for that matter, pigeons you can see more, but it can be even in the case of other birds too, especially what we call as love birds also. Usually people keep it in their houses, right, in cages. That is, one pigeon dies, usually the other one also will die immediately or after a few days out of grief. So like this, attachment should be there, but then at the same time always remember that the journey is yours. So now in the case of human beings, of course it doesn't happen this way. One person dies, we do feel sorrowful, but then that doesn't mean that we'll also end up dying, right? But then in the case of pigeons also it does happen. So pigeons try to teach us the quality of love and attachment that we must have towards our own people, but at the same time remember that what you're doing is ultimately it is your journey alone, and what you do is going to benefit you. So today, that to know why this has been highlighted, it sometimes it happens that, or rather most of the times, our own people or people in our close circle, many times they are the ones who try to mock us. We feel that people from the outside world also, or people are not known to us much, they cause problems and hurdles. In fact, if you see, most of the hurdles also are caused by our own close circle. You try to do something, they'll come and mock you, they'll come and stop you. Like this, each one of us, we have our own range of personal experiences. So therefore, at that time, you should know what is good for you and you take the right decisions. Because later, not just because I was attached, just because I was loved or so, in that attachment, maybe later in life you realize that, oh, I did a very grave mistake. So that should not happen. So like the pigeon, what you get to learn from the pigeon is, be loving, be attached to people around you, but at the same time, remember that what is beneficial for you, that can be decided only by you alone, because the journey is completely in your hands. So if people around you are guiding you on the wrong path, or if they are stopping you from doing some good things or so, be aware of that, try to come out of that quickly. So if you see, out of everything we get to learn something, and looking at some things we also get to know what to unlearn. So from a pigeon, though we learn the qualities of love and attachment, what we get to unlearn is, don't be on the extreme side also like the pigeon, because ultimately we have to decide our own journeys. So out of a few things, there are many things which we have to also unlearn in life. So learning is one thing, unlearning is another process, wherein unlearning is nothing but we are habituated, we have a habit of doing things. Say for example, some people have a habit of reading newspapers loudly. I'll just give you an everyday example, right? At your house you do, maybe no one comes and tells you anything, but then you go outside and read, maybe in a public place or so, obviously people are going to mock you, or that is not suitable, right? So we must, now if you have the habit of every day reading the newspaper aloud, even if you go outside or to someone else's house also, you'll be doing the same thing, at least initially. So these are a few things which it is your daily habit. Maybe no one told you anything at home, but now when you go out, obviously this habit has to change. So this is something which we have to unlearn. So that is our daily habits, or something which we are very much used to right from the beginning, but at times also we must change that. This is the process of unlearning. I just gave you a simple example. So from the pigeon we get to learn this. So 8 things are done. Next, python. python, now if you see, first of all, physically speaking, the python is quite heavy, its weight is more. So whatever comes its way, it usually eats that. So anything that comes, like, only if it will, half of the time, you can say most of the time, it will be resting in a particular place, and at one time, whenever it moves about here and there, when it feels so, whatever comes its way, it consumes that. So it doesn't go out of the way, put in efforts. Now this doesn't try to show that the person is lazy or so, but then what it tries to show is, be satisfied, be contented with what comes your way always. Now that doesn't mean you stop putting in efforts, but then not trying to be lazy, but at the same time getting what we have, being blessed out of the way. Now already, if you have a meal also, say for example you go to a restaurant, you've come from a long travel journey, I'm just giving you examples so that the concept is clear. So maybe you come from a long journey also, you have to have food. So at that time, what we do, any restaurant that comes our way, you go there, whatever is available, we tell the person to make and we eat it. But if you are very now, this is like at maybe at night or so, it has already become late, you're tired, and then so at that time, what we do, whatever is there, we eat that, right? But still at that time, no, come from a long journey, which is, no, I want to eat only this, I want to eat only at so and so restaurant or so. At that time, if we put in so much conditions, it is wrong. Say for example, normally maybe one fine day you want to go and eat something at a particular place or so, then you decide and go, you don't have anything else to do, you have gone only for this purpose, that is fine. So this is what the python, this is just an example. So python does this, it is whatever, I have to fill my stomach, that's it. So let anything come, I'll fill it. So in life also, whatever we have, make the most of it. If you just complain, now in fact human life is like this. We have one thing, now today my wish is I want to have a house. Next you have a house, you look at a bigger house, no, now till yesterday I was craving for a house. Now next is I have a house, but now I want a bigger house. So for a few days we are satisfied, again some new desire crops in. Now I have a big house, now I need a car. Now car has also come, now I need something else. So like this, desires keep piling up, wishes keep piling up. One fine day we have to take a pause. So that is, be contented. Always if you try making yourself happy, so now what happens is, I have a house, I want a bigger house, I want a car. So like this, when you are building up and trying to fulfill your desires, you see that not even a single thing you are able to enjoy. Because first of all, when you got a house, you are thinking about getting a big house now. So therefore your mind is fully focused on that. You are not enjoying the time that you are spending in your own house, which you have got through a lot of efforts. Then finally, now when you buy a bigger house, your thoughts are on buying a car now. You are not fully focusing and enjoying on living in the big house for which you wished maybe a few years back. So like this, you see, as new desires keep piling up, first is, we are never contented, we'll never be satisfied. New things are going to come, new technology, everything is going to come. So then, if so desires are going to keep piling up, there will be no end to it at all. But one fine day, we have to take a pause and see where life can end. And now that doesn't mean you don't maybe try to get what you want. Fulfilling desires is one part, but fully, if you keep your focus only on that, you will not be able to enjoy what you have in hand, will never be satisfied and contented. So these are qualities which Dattatreya says you get to learn from a python. Next is from the ocean. Now ocean, if you see, all kinds of water bodies, all the rivers, they collect the water from different lakes, ponds, different small water bodies, and they come. But in spite of all that, some are polluted, some are good, some are clean, some have earth mixed with its soil. But still, the ocean remains unaffected, right? So similarly, all kinds of disturbance, distractions, everything will come. We should be able to distract. If you have to sit and complain, lifelong we have to sit and complain. So knowing where to draw the line, knowing where to stop the disturbances, that is very, very important. So this is what we get to learn from the ocean. Now for this, another example you can consider for the ocean. Now when rainwater falls, right? Now rivers, dams, we say lakes, they overflow, right? But rivers also, in severe cases, maybe like a flood-like situation also. But we never hear that the ocean has flooded, right? Why it happens? Now say for example, you go to a beach also, you see a lot of water on the beach. Apart from the high tide, low tide phenomena, that is different. But in general, I'm talking. You go to the ocean, you go to the sea. The sea that you saw maybe 20 years back and the sea that you go and see today, the water I'm talking about, not the cleanliness and everything, the water level seems to be same, right? You cannot make a difference. Whereas you go to a dam or a lake or so, maybe during the rainy season the water level increases, you have a news all the dams are over flooded, this, that, everything. Whereas in the case of the ocean or the sea, no news like this come. No, sea has over flooded. It doesn't happen, right? Apart from there are like the low tide, high tide I told you, or some natural disaster, flood, tsunami, and so on. That is different. Otherwise, even due to heavy rains, even if heavy rains take place also, the sea or the ocean does not get flooded. That means it is already filled with water. A few raindrops come in during a particular season of the year, it doesn't affect the sea, or in fact we cannot see the difference also. All through the remaining year also water level remains the same. So there are two ways. One is this, all the rivers, different water bodies get mixed with the ocean, still it remains unaffected. Plus one more thing is, even though rainwater keeps filling, the water level doesn't increase, or at least does not seem to increase. The ocean, whether it gets something or whether it is mixed with other things, things don't matter. So you get something, you try to accept that. If you don't get something also, be contented, just like the python is there. Then thirdly, there are going to be disturbances. There are people want to disturb us, want to trouble us. There are going to be distractions. You sit and complain, no, the world is like this, no, children are like that, youngsters are like this. People, so many people, right? You yourselves could be making such statements, or we hear so many people telling, no, nobody listens to me. Nowadays children are like that. Nowadays people are like that. Nowadays the world is like that. Everything around us, like 30 years back or a yuga back also, people used to tell the same thing maybe. The people in the Treta Yuga during Rama's time, someone, if they had lived in the Satya Yuga, or you can say the previous generation, let's not call it a Yuga, they'll say no, in the Satya Yuga things were like this, in the Treta Yuga, but now Ravana, Kumbhakarna, such elements have come. There also problem is there. Dwapara Yuga, right from the time Krishna was born, there are problems. Kamsa is sending Putana, Trinavarta, Mushtika, Chanura, Kamsa, this, that, continuously demons are coming. Kali Yuga, no demons, at least physical demons don't come, we have other demons, right? People, in fact, have turned to be demons, including all of us. So, what happens is, if problems, or if you have to always think about the negative side, you will have always things and complaints which are there. It is up to us. Thing is like this, like there are many people who make such statements. Lifelong, then you have to sit and complain and say things are like this, world is changing, this, that. You have to say, you have to always keep saying about the same thing. It leads to your own problems. You will never progress. So this is something which the ocean tries to teach, is to be freedom from all kinds of disturbances and destructions around us. Next. Okay, till here is everyone following? Yeah?
Yes, Rashmi.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next is from the moth. What we get to learn from a moth. Now, moth is one example which is given to have a control on one's sense organs. So moth, if you see, usually it has a habit of getting attracted to fire. So what it does is, it sees fire, it jumps into that. It knows that fire is dangerous, but still it gets attracted towards that, it burns itself. So this is, one should learn how to control, that is having a control on sense organs. Now for this I'm going to tell you something. Now there are about, now moth is just one. Here we have an example of a moth, but there are 5 animals which are compared to 5 sensory organs. Now we have 5 sensory organs: ears, eyes, touch, that is skin, nose and tongue. There are 5 animals that are compared to this. One is the moth, I told you, through its eyes. It gets attracted towards things. It sees fire is very shiny, it is very bright, it tries to jump into it, ultimately it loses its life. Similarly, a deer, D-E-E-R, deer, its ears are very sharp. So when the hunters, what they do whenever they have to hunt the deer, especially the musk deer also, it has its big horns. So at that time what it does, the hunter makes a very beautiful musical sound. Its ears get attracted towards that sound and it listens to that sweet music and it gets caught. Its thorns get, you can say, it gets caught in the tree, its thorns get caught in the long branches of the tree, or ultimately the hunter also tries to pull it. So it's like an intoxication that takes place. We also sometimes, when we listen to music also, luckily we don't move about in that path. Maybe you close your eyes, even if people around call us, we might not be able to hear, right? So like this, the deer, it seems that it gets attracted towards sweet music and then the hunter catches it. So here the sense organ of ear causes trouble to the deer. So for moth it is eyes, deer it is ears. Next is elephant. Now the nature of elephants is, now here only moth mention has been there, but because the topic has come, I'm just telling you some extra references. Now for the elephant always likes a lot of touch. That's the reason you see it always throws mud on its body, right? It continuously needs something on its body. Even when the mahout also, it gives it a bath also, he will be rubbing its body. And we know that whenever the elephant, even if after a good bath and everything is done, still it will come out and pour mud on its body. And then even though it is very clean, still it continuously keeps doing the same thing. Why so? Because it needs something continuously on its body. It is attracted by the sense of touch. So it is said that when female elephants come, and elephants also generally when they walk, they like to touch each other and watch. That is, first of all, now we need not blame the elephants here. First of all, the elephants are quite big, right? The physical structure is quite big, so you cannot help if there are 2 or 3 elephants walking together in a line or so. You cannot help, but you have to touch and move. Just as now, if there is a crowded place or so, if you are walking, there is no other option. We have to touch each other and walk, right? So similarly, here also what happens is, an elephant, it keeps touching the she elephants, and one fine day what happens is it gets caught. How it gets caught? Now usually for catching elephants also, some pits are dug in the ground, and when pits are dug in the ground, it will keep touching the she elephants, it will keep walking in its own merry, ultimately it will fall down in the pit. So this is something wherein it gets attracted to the sense of touch, that is skin. So too much, taking care of our skin, taking care of our physical body is one aspect, but too much, if you get into that, then it will be dangerous, because too much caring of your body, ultimately when you die, nobody is going to see how was he a gym body man, how was his skin, how was his eyes good. That doesn't mean we don't take care of our bodies. Some people, no, taking a bath is fine, you use a soap, you use a whatever, a body wash, whatever it is, till then it is fine. Some people you see, maybe it might be one amongst us, they'll apply a cream, they'll apply some oil, will that, till there it is okay, but then some other potions, some liquids, this, that, for taking a bath itself it takes 2 hours for them. Sometimes it is fine, regularly you do all this to yourself, it is just getting overly attached to things, and many times it happens, in spite of doing all this also, the person doesn't look that good. But then yes, there are certain things that are done, so that is control on the skin. So just like the she elephant, it gets attracted towards touch, and when it is maybe walking along with the she elephants, it keeps touching their skin and walking about, it throws mud on it, it loses its vision. Now elephants, you see, they have very small eyes also, so ultimately it falls in the pit, it loses its life. So third is sense of touch. So eyes for a moth, ears are deer, touch or skin is for the elephant. Next is honeybee. Now honeybee, what it does is, it is known for extracting nectar from flowers, right? So at that time what it does, when it goes and extracts, it is through its nose, that is, it gets the smell. Now how it will know that flowers are there around? Through the fragrance of flowers, right? So through the nose it gets attracted towards flowers, and sometimes what happens is the flower blooms. So when a honeybee sits on it to take hold of or to grab the nectar that is there, the flower buds close itself, the honeybee loses its life. So this does happen. So therefore we have to be very, very careful, because of the fragrance of the flowers, it loses its life. Last is, that is by the nose. Now honeybee, for it, the sense organ of nose is dangerous. Last comparison is made by the fish. Now fish lives in water, in the water bodies, now somehow it gets some food also. But when a fisherman wants to catch a fish, what he does is, he maybe keeps a small piece of bread or something on the fishing net, he puts it inside water. This fish, it gets attracted to that piece of bread, and then it tries to hold it. Then it tries to eat it. Ultimately it doesn't know that the food piece is attached to a fishing net also. It gets caught in that, it loses its life, right? So ultimately the fisherman brings it out, it loses its life. So fish is, due to the sense of taste, that is the tongue, it gets affected. So through all these examples, here we have in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in these 24 gurus, you have the list of only a moth, what we get to learn from a moth. But one reference, Garuda Puranam is one reference. Like this, there are few references wherein you have the mention of these 5 animals also, like a deer, elephant, moth, honeybee and fish. Through their different ways of getting attracted to the sense organs, it might lead to their own trouble. Now here, remember, now some people will argue, how can we set a control on sense organs? Everyone is having all the 5 sense organs, right? We have to see with our eyes, we have to hear with our ears, we have to eat with our, or taste with our tongue, we have to feel with our skin, we have to smell, everything is there. Nobody can be beyond that. Seeing something, now all of you, if you see the screen in front of you, it is fine. Maybe now you're looking at the screen, then you're looking at 4 other people, or maybe you're listening to what I'm speaking, but also someone who's speaking at the back of your house, you're listening to them. This is distraction, right? So doing something, for doing our everyday activities, we need the help of sense organs. But then if we are getting distracted, then that is something which is dangerous, we have to know. So just as a moth also gets attracted, it knows that the fire in front is dangerous, but still if it goes and falls in it, it loses its life. Similarly, we should also learn to control our certain desires, and especially the, you can say, the attractions from the sense organs. Very good. Next is honeybee. I think I already told you this. Okay. So honeybee, it collects nectar from flowers without hurting the flower, and it draws the honey. So this is in a different context, not in this way. So honeybee, it collects nectar from the flowers, but it doesn't hurt the flower. Just as us, when we pluck flowers, we pull it, right? So it hurts the flower. But honeybee, what it does is, it does it very gently, so nothing happens to the flower. It doesn't pluck it also. Slowly it draws the honey, it goes away. And sometimes it draws honey, it goes away, that is fine. But just now I told you, if it is attracted by the sense organ of taste, that is tongue, it will again come back. It will keep going to the roots, down, 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 down. Ultimately the flower will close itself, it will lose its life. So collecting honey, collecting nectar to fill your stomach is fine, but too much, if you do it in excess, you will lose your life. So here the honeybee, what it does is, it very carefully draws the honey from that is the nectar from the flower, without disturbing the flower, without disturbing nature. So again, learning for all of us is, if we also do things without disturbing nature, without disturbing the ecosystem, then everything will be fine. If you do it on an over basis, then things are going to cause you trouble. Now you take about fallen logs of wood, or maybe fallen leaves or something like that for your purpose, it is fine. What we do is, we keep on cutting trees, we keep on cutting forests. Now where we need habitation, we do that, it is fine. But then where, like, of course we need some settlements also, so at that time you need wood, that basic amenities. You have to cut trees, or maybe you use the logs of wood that are already fallen. So till that extent it is okay. For our needs you take something. But no, continuously wherever some place, a small piece of land is also available, you end up building big houses there. It disturbs the ecosystem. That's the reason you see in some places you have animal attacks also, right, that take place in urban areas, especially in places like Mumbai also. I'm telling, it does happen. Animals suddenly come, and then we go and blame the animals. We tend to shoot them, this and that. We tend to blame those officials, forest officials. How come the animal has come? You go and stay in the place where the animal is there, obviously the animal is going to come, right? So therefore there are certain things, if we disturb the ecosystem, if we disturb nature. And best examples, the recent examples now, you see a lot of disturbance in places in the hilly regions. You have Himachal Pradesh, you have Manali and so on, very good tourist places. But now we have seen the wrath of nature. I think now it has receded, but maybe a month back or so, you saw how things have turned. In fact, houses, buildings, everything has been swept by the wrath of nature, right? So everything gets destroyed in a minute or so. Maybe people were enjoying there about 2-3 months back. In a month or so, things have changed. Bridges have fallen. That we see how natural disaster has come. Or even about 10 years back, you had the Kedarnath disaster. Now, of course, these things are not in our hands, but then it is because we have caused a lot of harm to the ecosystem. Now also, I think if you see in the Chardham Yatra, that is the Chota Chardham Yatra, Kedarnath, Badrinath, Gangotri, Yamunotri, you have some road or so, something that is being built. For the sake of devotees also, easy access, that is their main objective, that is fine. But still, in between mountains or so, or in such a region where land is not supposed to be built into bridges or things like that, there if you go and do such things, you break mountains, you break natural surroundings, it does affect the ecosystem, and nature will always give us back if we go and disturb nature to the extent. So for our need it is okay, but then if you go on an extreme level, nature will hit us back. And we have already started seeing the examples, like I gave you the recent examples of places in Himachal Pradesh and the hilly regions. We never know when things can happen in our own place. So now itself we must be aware of it. A honeybee tries to teach all this. Okay. Next is now here. Now why you see two times why honeybee has been mentioned is we get to learn two things from a honeybee. Now here in the Srimad Bhagavatam you have in the shloka, I checked that way, they have one place it is given honeybee, other place it is just given as a fly also, fly or a bee in general. It need not be only honeybee. So that is basically from insects what we get to learn. So two different mention has been given. One is honeybee and second is in general any bee also you can consider like a bumblebee. So bumblebee, usually this reference you for a bumblebee, what is a word in Sanskrit? I am not able to. Bangir, what do you call that? Anyone knows for a bee a word in Sanskrit? Brigu, something from Brahmaraha, correct. Brahmaraha. Brahmaraha. So that is one thing. One is honeybee, Madhumakshika. That is honeybee, and Brahmaraha is a bumblebee. Bumblebee is somewhat similar, and Brahmaraha is a reference that we get in many Sanskrit. Srimad Bhagavatam, you have Brahmaraha, right?
Brahmara is there.
Correct. Yes. So
Geetam is there.
Brahmara Geetam, correct. So that is bumblebee. You have Srimad Bhagavatam is one religious literature. Even in general Sanskrit literature, you have a lot. So basically, Brahmaraha is something which, in fact, people say that Brahmaraha, this word has come from like somewhat related to the word Brahmana. This is just Brahmana meaning to roam about or to get lost. So Brahmaraha is like that. It's like an illusion that is there. So just as like the honey or bee also, they collect the nectars and so on, but at times what we get to learn from them, that is mentioned, but they move about here and there. But if you get caught, like I told you, on the extreme level you go and try to extract nectar, you will be caught in that. So Brahmaraha and honeybee both are different. Here of course for a bumblebee and so on, they don't mention it. It's not, mostly it's quite same you can consider. So that's the reason why twice it is given here as a honeybee, but you can consider a slight difference. So the second thing, and basically we get to learn two things from here. So that's the reason why honeybee is mentioned separately. So here what you get to learn is honeybee, what they do is they collect honey, they collect nectar and they store it with a lot of hard work, and which now honeybees, if you see, they never eat that, right? Or even trees for that matter. You can consider even trees. Vrikshaha Satpurushaha, right? This sorry. So trees also, what they do is whatever they have, be it fruits, flowers or anything that they have, they don't consume it for themselves. They always spread it or they always give it to others. Similarly, the honey that is collected by honeybees in a honeycomb, they will neither eat it, they will not use it for themselves. So they will always try to give away. Now give away also, honeybees don't come to our houses and give. We only go put in efforts, you extract the honey and so on. So basically, this is a life learning for us, that is, do not waste whatever you have. Just do not just be a miser, just piling up your treasures or so. Use what you have. So this is one thing which you get to learn from honeybees. What they do is, they neither give it, they neither eat it. Now two ways you can interpret this. One is, I told you, like Vrikshaha Satpurushaiva, meaning whatever they have, they don't use it for themselves, they give it to others. But in the case of the honeybee, what happens is, they neither use it nor they give it to others. For this, there is a very beautiful Subhashitam. Danam Tritiya Gati. I will share the exact Subhashitam later, meaning wealth. Wealth can take three ways, it seems. What is that? One is, you have wealth, you have money, you use it for yourself, enjoy. Second is, if you don't want to use it for yourself, at least give something in dana, in charity. If you don't do this, you yourselves are not consuming it. It's okay, you don't give in charity, you don't do anything for others, it is fine. But at least you yourself enjoy, it is okay. Second case, you don't want to use much for yourself, or you have something for your basic needs, you want to give something in charity, you want to give as dana, at least you do that. But I will not use it for myself, nor will I give it to anyone. I'll be a miser, I'll keep collecting my wealth. Then it is of no use, it is just waste. Because what is going to happen is, you have not used it at all, nor have you given it to anyone. After your death, anyway, who's going to take that, what is going to be done of it, you never know. So instead of that, when you have something, you yourself use it, use your treasures, don't just keep piling up things, it is of no use. That is, whatever you have, make the best use of it, use it for your own benefit, help others with it, but don't just keep storing. Now this doesn't mean that savings are not important, should we just give away everything what we have, it's not like that. But at least using things. We find so many people, right, like this, just keep on piling things, or even, it need not be even wealth or money, even books, things, clothes. They'll wear only the same cloth every day, or maybe 2 or 3 clothes. But cupboard full of clothes are there from up to down. Still, when something comes in, oh, I don't have a single cloth to wear. All the women here, you can relate to this, right? Or in the case of even books or things that you have, so many books, you just keep piling up. You go to a bookshop, you end up buying 10 books. Again you go, again you buy. How many books we actually open and read? None of us will do that. So like this, there are different things. If you don't use things, it just goes waste. This is what the honeybee tries to teach. Now in the case of the honeybee, its nature is like that. It doesn't eat it, at the same time it cannot go and give others. But then at least human beings who are blessed with this nature of an intellect, we have the discrimination power of knowing what is good and bad, so therefore we should use the best of it. Otherwise we are equal to animals. Manushyaha, or this again, Bharatiya, a great Sanskrit poet, in his Subhashitas, he has written 3 Shatakas. Niti Shatakam, Shringara Shatakam, Vairagya Shatakam. Shatakam is 100 verses. So in all 300 verses, talking about ethics or rules which are followed for leading a good life. So there he says, Manushyaha Pranijanaha. He makes a line like this. It comes in many other literature pieces also. That means, man is also an animal. That's why we say man is a social animal. The word social is very, very important. If you are also just doing things like other animals, eating, drinking, eat, drink, sleep, repeat. If you do this, you are equal to an animal. Manushyaha pranijanaha then. But we don't do that. We add the word social in between. That means these 4 things are the basis. Even the roadside dog also is doing the same thing. Now some people say very proudly, right? No, I go to work. The dog doesn't go to work in office, but somehow, why do you go to work? To sustain your family, right? To sustain for your own well-being, and the ultimate truth is to fill your own stomachs. Animals also on the roadside do the same thing. Only difference is it doesn't go and very nicely sit in a workplace. It will try to find out in its own way. And in fact, if you see animals, they take care of their kids more than human beings. Human beings, we neglect other people, but dogs, or you can say puppies, or anyone, be it their own small young ones, or in the case of animals, just I give you an example of dogs, or if you see, even if one human being or any other animal attacks a dog or so, all other dogs will come and try to support, right? So this happens in the case of animals. Animals have this nature, human beings don't have this nature. That's the reason in the roadside you see 2 people fighting. You will have 100 people surrounding and standing them, and nowadays you have the very nice advantage of taking a video and making it viral. But out of that, how many go and try to sort it out? Now it is very dangerous also to sort things. You might get hit. So that is one thing. But then the thing is, there are many things which we get to learn from animals, and animals are far ahead than this. That's the reason why I'm highlighting all this is, Dattatreya has mentioned many things which he gets to learn from animals and nature around him, and it tells us that human beings, we feel very proud of us. After 84 million births or so, 84 lakh births, it is said 8.4 million roughly, we get this precious human birth. That also if you waste by just eating, sleeping, repeating the same thing. I'm taking care of my family, I'm going to work. The roadside dog is also doing the same thing. It is also sustaining for its family. These are basic necessities of living creatures. What if you are being blessed with a human birth? You have your intellect, you are blessed with an intellect, you are blessed with all, you can say, speech, buddhi, discrimination power. Make the best use of it for getting knowledge and so on. If you don't do that, you are equal to an animal. Bhartruhari says this, and Dattatreya also in this topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, he tries to highlight that from animals we get to learn many things. So therefore human beings, we need not be proud at all. Next. Now for this I remember one more story. Okay. Many things I'm remembering, though it is not related. Once it so happened that Brahma, at the time when he started the process of creation, he had few of you I told you this in some other class. When he started the process of creation, in fact, he had created only 5 creatures, it seems. One was a monkey, second was a bull, third was a dog, fourth was a bat, 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 and the fifth was a human being. Only 5 creations were being done initially. So now everyone had to be given a lifespan, right? So Brahma first called the monkey. He said, I'm going to give you 40 years of lifespan, you will live. Monkey says, no, no, please. 40 years, what I will do? My nature is to jump from here and there, snatch food from people, just fill my stomach. 40 years, I don't want to spend in doing this. You give me only 20 years. Brahma says, okay, 20 years is remaining. Out of 40, 20 monkey accepts, he goes ahead. Next, he calls a bull. Bull comes. Brahma says, for you also, lifespan is 40. Bull says, no, why again 40? I have to toil all my lives. Be it agriculture, be it the farm, be it the field, or people travel on bullock carts or so. Full efforts I have to put in, I have to toil continuously. 40 years I don't want to do this, 20 years is enough. 20 years he gives to the bull, 20 years still remains. Next, dog comes. Dog also, Brahma does the same thing and give you 40 years of lifespan. Dog says, no, no, no. First of all, I pant very heavily. That is, you see dogs continuously, they breathe to their mouth, right? So that is the reason lifespan is short. So that's why medically also it is said, you must never breathe to your mouth. Or there are a few people, sometimes while sleeping also we see, some people have a habit of opening our mouths and sleeping, right? That should not be done. Now, unknowingly we do, that is another thing. Because if we breathe to our mouth, what happens is, through our nose when we breathe, air is always pure. You have a lot of nostrils, hairs and so on. So the air that we breathe in, little purification takes place, though air is polluted. But through the mouth, directly air enters our lungs. That's why we have a lot of respiratory issues and so on. And lifespan reduces. In the case of a dog, you see continuously it keeps panting. Its tongue is out, its mouth is out. That's the reason why its lifespan is less. That is one reason. So it says, already I have to pant all my life, I have to guard people's house, I have to run behind thieves. And all through my life I have to do this. I don't want 40 years. 18 to 20 years. That too. It doesn't even need 20, 18. That's why today also dogs, you see, 18 is max. Next, bat. BAT, bat. Nobody can forget the bat. Bat says, what is my purpose? First of all, bat now, all of us mostly we have started reading it more, right? After the recent pandemic that came in. So, bat says, first of all, I don't have any purpose. Secondly, I'm not very pleasant to look at also. I cannot see. At night time, I move about here and there, that too upside down. So I don't have any purpose as such. But still you have created me. 40 years is, you can say, out of question. 20 years also, just because I have to accept, I've accepted. So all these 4 creatures, monkey, bull, dog, bat, everyone was given 40, they accepted only 20. Lastly, man came. Now Brahma said, forget now, all these 4 I've asked 40, they don't want, man also will accept only 20. So Brahma calls man, he says, you will also get 20 years of lifespan. Man says, what 20? 20 years, I will just start leading life. I'll just know what is life. In 20 years, what can I do? Nothing. I need at least 100 years. So Brahma says, from where I'll give you 100? There is something fixed that is there. So what Brahma did is, out of the 20, which all these 4 had left, so 40 originally was given to all these 4 creatures, they accepted only 20. 20 each is remaining, 24s are 80. 80 plus the original 20 that is there for human beings, in all 100. That's how the lifespan of human beings is 100. This is a belief. Now, Brahma said, what you're going to do in this 100 years of life, you have been given the highest lifespan. So, at that time man, he said, no, I'll do this, I'll do that, 20 years I just start leading life, I just know what is the world around, what I will do, I want to enjoy everything, I want to have material desires, this and that. So at that time itself, Brahma highlights that all that you do. But then, note that your purpose is different. Unlike these 4 animals, monkey has to just jump here and there. Bull has to just put in a lot of hard efforts. Dog keeps panting here and there. It has to guard people's house, run behind thieves. Bat has, as such, has got no purpose. It is almost, let's not call it useless, but not a very good purpose. You at least do the best in life. So again, the same thing that is done. Whatever you have, make the best of your life. But it seems that what man did is, because he got 20 years from each of these creatures, he developed some behavior like them. That's the reason, first 20 years of our life, we keep jumping about here and there like a monkey. Childhood. What does a child do? Jumps here and there, runs here and there. So like a child, we move like a monkey, we just keep jumping here and there. Next 20 years, what we do? 20 to 40, like a bull with toil, right? Put in a lot of hard efforts. You have a family, you have to settle in life, study, education, this, that, everything we do put in a lot of efforts. 40 to 60, original human lifespan, it seems. Human beings try to develop their own nature. At the age of 40, little realization comes in. 40 years of life are gone. I'm putting in a lot of efforts now. What is my exact purpose? What I want to do in life, and so on. We start making plans. Right? 40 to 60, why that happens is we actually think about human life. 60 to 80 is like a dog, it seems. Why so? Slowly old age is coming in. Then, on a lighter note, you have children, you have grandchildren, you have to take care of them. Like a dog guards a house, you have to be in the house and be like a guardian. On a lighter note. Then last 80 to 100 is like a bat. Bat, almost you see nothing. It cannot see. It is dependent on, let's say, light or something nearby, a tree or so. So something almost useless, right? Old age is something wherein you cannot do anything. You're dependent on others. You cannot see properly. You cannot hear properly. Physical structure is not proper. So this is qualities of a bat. So this is how human life is decided. All these stories are told in folklores or so. So this is Brahma. Initially he made these 5 creations, and through this animal. So this is how human life is structured. So again, now this was a story which was related. The point is to make the best use of human life which has been given to us. Unlike the honeybee who has it but doesn't, it itself doesn't make use of it. At the same time, it doesn't give it to others. Okay, could everyone relate to this story to some extent? I hope it was not too away from the topic.
Yes, we can relate.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next. So honeybee is this. Next. Elephant. What you get to learn from an elephant. I think I already told you these stories when I told you about moth. The same thing comes in. Elephants are often trapped using the opposite gender elephant. Now this is again nothing which is limited to the elephants. In the case of human beings also, it does happen at a particular stage in life. We get attracted towards people belonging to the opposite sex. Not only people, it can be even things and distractions, right? There are things that you see, you go to the market, you buy a cloth, you don't come home satisfied. You see something else, no, I like this piece also, I buy that. Now you wanted only one dress, you ended up buying 10 dresses and come. So like this, sense pleasures are something which will always bound you. Not only due to people also, it will also be due to things and distractions that are there. So don't forget your goals, don't fall a trap into this, otherwise it will become very, very dangerous. Next, a deer. Again, the same thing that I told you. Deer, usually it is very swift, it can run very fast, but then when the sweet music is played by the hunter, it gets caught and it will be trapped. So be aware of things and people also. There are many people who try to put us down, try to show us down. If we fall in that trap, we are lost forever. That should not be done. So be careful of all these traps. Know where a trap is placed. Not all traps are visible to our eyes. That is, some people they'll speak very nicely. On the first day, you join a new, maybe an office also. Let me give you an example. You join a new organization. First few days, everyone will be very happy. They'll be very sweet to you. Very goody people will speak. Slowly, everyone starts showing their colors, right? Then, of course, you don't have an option. But then, there are many things and people that try to put us down, try to show us down. We must be aware of those traps. And unlike the deer, we must not fall in these traps. Next. Fish. A lot of food is there already in the sea. Now people do put food for fish, and then there are small organisms in the sea. In spite of all that, having it as eaten is full, still it eats the bait. Bait is nothing but the food, maybe a piece of bread or so that you put on the fish hook. So this is greed. Live for your need, not for your greed. This is a lesson that is taught through the fish. So there are many other options around. Maybe just by looking at things, you need not be distracted. At that particular time, the fish feels there are many other pieces of food, but still I want only this. If you do this, you will fall for your greed. Maybe that one piece of bread seems to be very big, that is put on the fish net. Other pieces are quite small, I want a bigger piece. So it goes and eats it due to its greed. If you do this, you will fall in danger, you will fall in the trap. Next. Okay. So courtesan, or you can, in today's terms, you can call, nowadays such things are not done, but then still, like, I don't think anyone would be exposed to such things here, but still you maybe have those dancing bars or pubs and so on. Or it's just everyone's personal choice how you have your lifestyle. But then usually sometimes maybe those girls dancing there in such places, usually like prostitutes mainly. If you do that, those people are sex workers as we call them. That is, maybe they do it for the sake of money, they are not much educated, they don't know, and so on. Now this is just one example. Like this, now through this what we get to learn is, you know your whole purpose. There can be many people who will make you dance on their toes. If you keep doing that, then it is your own, you can say, your own loss. So you must know where to be aware. Unlike the courtesan here, much of her life she spent, and one day she knew what she was doing, she introspected. So introspection is something you speak to yourself, you must know what is right, what is wrong. So that's the reason why you see, I don't know if anyone has a habit, but then usually we always have this habit of diary writing, right? Has anyone done that sometime in your life, diary writing or something in your childhood? You maintain a diary every day, what you do, you write it?
Yes. Yeah. In younger days.
Yes.
Used to do.
Yes. So in younger days, at least many people used to do, right? I don't know nowadays. Maybe it's not a trend, but then at least one
Yes,
page.
there was, I used to write diary.
Yeah.
In school.
School. Yeah. So school times usually we have this diary writing and things like that. So whatever you do the entire day. Now this is why it has to be encouraged is not just maybe after 50 years later you read it, you feel, oh, what I did every day, you get an idea. That is one part. But then mainly it was also a form of introspection, because maybe at the end of a month or end of a year, if you read it, you know that what you did through this entire year, and then, or maybe a month or a week, whatever it is, then you feel, oh, actually I did not do anything, I wasted a lot of time, I must do now something fruitful. So this diary writing also, the different habits which our elders or teachers taught us, they had a purpose behind it, and it was also a form of introspection. Introspection need not always be just sitting in meditation, closing your eyes and thinking what I did, what am I doing, is it correct or wrong. It's not only that way. Even such small habits that we have. Or you see, whenever we go to bed at night, we don't sleep immediately, right? Until and unless on few days when you're extremely tired, you lie down on the bed, or rather before lying on the bed also we go to sleep. That happens maybe in a week or so, once or twice, when you're extremely tired. Apart from that, on most of the nights what happens is, when we lie down, even though you close your eyes, physically someone sees you, might feel that you are sleeping, but then in our mind we have thousands of thoughts that are always going on. Then ultimately when we go to sleep, we don't realize, or sometimes some thoughts don't allow us to speak, allow us to sleep, sorry. So thoughts are something which are always there in one's mind, and they will never allow us to sleep, it seems. So that is also a way of introspection, wherein when we go to sleep is, at that time you don't have any other physical or mental activity to do. So when you don't have anything to do, at that time some thoughts come to your mind. You think the entire day what you did, what I have to do, and so on. So these are all ways of introspection. So to attain fulfillment, we have to introspect in life. So courtesan, we get to learn this from her. Next, from a small child. Small child has no ego, no jealousy, very, very innocent, right? And full of joy, tries to enjoy every minute. 1 minute it will be crying, the next minute it forgets, it starts laughing. That's the reason why we distract it, right? A child is crying for something, immediately you will give it something, a toy or something to eat or so, it will get it distracted towards that. It will completely forget that it was crying the previous minute. In our life also now, humanly, once we grow old, it becomes difficult for us to know this. In the case of a child, now when children have this quality, they can master things, they can memorize and remember things easily. At the same time, they can also forget things fast. That's the reason importance of practice, or there is something called revision, right? In school, you have a concept called revision, which is given. What is that revision? Or you have the concept of these unit test. Before the semester exams, you have some test. Now for the marks part and everything, that is one thing. But why that is given is to make the child enable and ready, that you have to memorize something, you have to revise something and come. Only if the child revises, only if the child has given some these frequent unit tests or revisions or so, then only it will be prepared for the final exam. Reason is, children can remember things fast, at the same time they also forget things fast. Same thing happens in the case of a small child. So like this, maybe if some bad thing or some negative thing has happened, you keep thinking about the same thing, you keep pondering, you keep complaining lifelong. 25 years back someone hit me, 25 years back you stole my pen in school. Even till date, when he comes in front of me, I change my road and go. If you develop these qualities, life is waste. Instead of that, maybe some argument took place, forget it and move about. So, innocence or care and being always happy. This is something, and also the quality of forgetting things which are not important. These qualities are to be learned from a small child. Next, from an eagle. Eagle, what it does is, it gets a piece of flesh, it has fellow eagles also coming and fighting for it. Ultimately, now it tries to first safeguard it. When it finds that it's not happening, it stops. It drops the flesh, all the birds leave the eagle, they go down to the flesh. So, all the other fellow eagles, they don't have any enmity for the eagle, they want the food, the flesh, the piece of flesh that is there in that eagle's hand. So, sometimes we have to let go of things in life. You give your best to maintain it, to safeguard it. If that's not happening, learn to let go. Maybe things are not that important. You keep holding on the same things, life will never move about. There are things, if it is beyond your control, if it is beyond your change also, little you have to ignore, you have to let go. Only then a person can lead a fulfilled life. Next is an archer. Now we have just learned Dhanurvedam. We know the different ways of Dhanurvedam, how immense focus. Now most of you have also practiced archery, shooting and so on, maybe as a sport. So how to be focused. You have many examples, Arjuna and so on. So whatever is our objective, main goal, total focus should be on that. There are going to be distractions. We must not be affected by that. Full focus should be maintained from. These are the qualities to learn from an archer. Next, let's just complete this, then we'll stop. From a snake. Python is different, snake is different. Now this example, Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinhati naroparani, verse from the Gita, wherein Krishna says that just as we every day we change our old clothes and wear new clothes, similarly from one body to another, the soul remains the same, we just keep changing our body as if clothes are being changed. On the basis of this, a snake, it has an habit of periodically shedding up its skin and getting a new skin. So periodically we must also be adaptive to change, and mentally and physically also we have to keep growing. Now I will do only things the way I want, I'll never change. Like best example I'll give you, maybe 3-4 years back we didn't even imagine that we'll have something like this online also, right? Now even if things have opened up, still the people do prefer, no, why should we meet physically, we'll do something online, something like that. Now it has got its own state of advantages and disadvantages, but then we have grown, we have been adaptive. Now maybe 5 years back nobody knew about this Google Meet, Zoom and things like that. Things were there, but we were not that familiar, right? But then now we have grown, we have become adaptive to change. So this is something which we have to always change as nature changes, and for our own growth, mentally and physically, it is important to change. Next, spider. What it does is, spider keeps building a web. Ultimately, you see, it never stops at one. It keeps on building, right? And then one fine day when Diwali will come, at that time you have to remove all the cobwebs. So you see how much the spider has put in efforts. So it doesn't stop. It has got a house. It doesn't stop there. Continuously it puts in efforts. Similarly, we must not settle. Okay, I've been successful. So lifelong, let me rest. That should not be there. We must always keep putting. Okay. Now this doesn't mean only running after money also. Now you might feel, now only you told you have to be contented. Now you are telling run behind success. Being contented is one thing, and at the same time, with knowledge also, I have learned everything, I know everything, there is nothing else to learn now. For depending on the things, we have to be contented and satisfied. Wealth, or things for our needs and for our luxuries to a certain extent, it is fine. You get trapped in that, it will lead to your own downfall. So there we have to be contented and satisfied. In the case of learning, there is no full stop, because more you learn, more it is beneficial for you, there will be no downfall. So therefore, we have to always think in this way, not settle for one success, keep building more as we get good opportunities. Next is from a girl. Once it so happened that for a girl, it seems unexpected guests come for lunch. But somehow, whatever she had, she did not complain. She managed whatever she had, she made a food. That is, she did not try to reveal her condition. No, I'm poor, I cannot give you food and so on. For this, you can have a very good example from Adi Shankaracharya's life. When the poor woman was there, she said what she did was she at least, first of all, she didn't say I don't have anything. She knew she was poor. She went inside her house. She saw what was there. She had a small gooseberry, an amla. She came and she offered it to Shankara. She did not hesitate, she did not feel bad what Shankara will think and so on. Shankaracharya also accepted that very happily, and then he showered a lot of gold coins. So if someone has come asking for Bhikshadana, we have to give. So why should you reveal your conditions to everyone? Just keep it to yourself. Problems are there, good things are there, everything is there. Depending on the situation, whatever you have, share it with others, lead a good life. This we get to learn from a girl. Next is from a wasp. So wasp is, again, you can consider like a bee or so. I think a wasp is, you can say, like a it we cannot say a kind of butterfly, mainly like you can consider a type of insect only. So it looks quite beautiful, that is, it has a lot of colors and so on. So that's the reason it looks quite beautiful. But initially it is a very small, you can consider a very small, like a caterpillar, like how a caterpillar develops into a butterfly. Caterpillars are not very good to look at, but a butterfly is quite beautiful, right? So it has to torment, it has to go to a lot of, you can say, processes in order to turn out to be beautiful, but still. So like that in our lives also, if you have to grow up, if you have to become successful, maybe 10 years later you look at yourself, it's going to be a lot of hard work that you put in. No one's life is easy. It's not a cakewalk, you have to put in a lot of efforts. Only then we might be successful later. So this is the list of 24 gurus. Like this, you can also add more. Like, it's just how we open our eyes and how we have that learning ability. But then Dattatreya mentions these three things I have learned. Okay, so with this, today time is up. We'll stop here.